In Onitsha, under a mango tree, two boys dreamed of building an empire together. One dream, one betrayal. Only one rose from the ashes. Welcome to African Tales by Khal, where African stories come to life. Subscribe and join our storytelling family. The dry harmattan wind swept red dust across the narrow pathways of Onitsha, coating rooftops, sandals, and skin with a thin, powdery film. In the middle of the bustling Ajasa street, under a towering mango tree that had stood longer than any elder could remember, sat a young woodcarver named Emeka. Every morning, he wiped the dust from his small wooden workstation, arranged his carving knives carefully, and whispered a quiet prayer. His fingers were skillful, steady, and patient. He could turn a plain piece of wood into a mortar so smooth even the oldest grandmother would smile at it. But today his hands felt restless. His heart beat with something bigger than wood dust and everyday carving. Across from him stood Uche, tall and charming, with eyes that always sparkled as though he knew secrets that others did not. Unlike Emeka, Uche didn't stay in one spot or live a life of routine. He moved through the streets of Onitsha like a breeze, knowing every trader, every shortcut, and every rumor. People liked Uche. They trusted him quickly. His smile made others forget to worry. Emeka, Uche called, tossing a roasted groundnut into his mouth. One day, we won't be breathing dust in this market. One day, we will arrive here in our own vehicle, our own business lorry. People will watch us with envy. Emeka slowed his carving and glanced up. A lorry, he repeated, wiping sweat from his forehead. Uche, we have talked about dreams before. Let's talk of reality. Uche placed a hand on Emeka's shoulder, voice lowering with intensity. Reality is what we decide. If we save every naira we earn, your carving, my trading, we can buy a transport vehicle. A real business. We will carry goods to markets all across the East. Money will follow, and we will never be broke again. Emeka looked into Uche's determined eyes and, for the first time, believed everything was possible. Day after day, they worked toward one goal. Emeka carved from dawn till dusk, his hands blistering, his back aching, his clothes soaked with sweat. He refused to waste even one coin. At night, after washing his tools, he counted his earnings slowly, smoothing each naira note with his palm before placing it into an old tin box hidden underneath a cracked wooden floorboard in his small room. Whenever hunger tried to weaken his resolve, he whispered to himself, "Sacrifice brings harvest." Meanwhile, Uche's path looked glamorous. He moved through crowded markets like a king without a crown, haggling, negotiating, laughing with farmers willing to pay him commission to help them sell their produce. Uche was fast with numbers and even faster with words. "Trust me," he would say, sealing deals with effortless charm. In the evenings, he visited Emeka's shed to give updates. One night, Emeka asked him, "Why do you believe this plan will work so strongly?" Uche leaned on the doorway, flicking a bean pod with his thumb. "Because I am tired of poverty controlling our lives like a wicked landlord. I want something bigger. I want people to know my name." Emeka nodded. "And I want security. Not fame. Not applause. Just the peace that comes from knowing I can feed myself without begging." Uche clapped his friend's back and grinned. "Then we are perfect partners. Your steady hand and my sharp head." Months rolled into years. The tin box filled, then overflowed into a second hiding place. Their combined savings finally reached their goal, a huge amount, enough to buy a fairly used transport vehicle. The night they counted it, tears gathered in Emeka's eyes. He whispered, voice breaking, "Uche, we did it." Uche smiled, eyes shining. "No, my brother. This is only the beginning. 3 years of sacrifice led to this moment." They wrapped the money in brown cloth, tied tightly with rope, and placed it inside a black leather bag. Emeka traced the bag with a trembling hand. "Uche," he said quietly, "this money, it is our future." Uche placed a hand over his heart and swore, "I will guard it with my life. I will go to the cellar myself. The bus I found is the cheapest and cleanest in the whole of Onitsha. In 3 days, I will drive back into this market, and we will begin our empire." Emeka's chest tightened with pride. "Let us pray," he said softly. Both of them knelt on the dusty ground under the mango tree. Emeka closed his eyes and prayed sincerely. "God, guide our plan. Protect my friend. And bless our efforts." When they stood, Uche swung the leather bag over his shoulder and flashed a confident grin. "By this time next week, we will be businessmen." Emeka followed him to the roadside. A small bus stopped and Uche climbed in. "Emeka!" Uche called from the open window, voice loud. Tell everyone to prepare for a celebration. Your life is about to change. Emeka smiled. Safe journey, my brother. The bus sputtered and rolled away, kicking up dust that swirled around Emeka's legs. He stood there long after the bus had disappeared from sight. 3 days passed. Then 4. Then 7. No message. No call. No sign. At first Emeka reassured himself. Maybe the seller changed the meeting time. But deep inside, beneath hope and trust, something cold and sharp began to form. A fear so heavy it felt like a stone in his chest. Days stretched into a small, cruel eternity. Emeka woke each morning with the same hollow hope, then watched it fade like smoke. He asked the market people, the bus drivers, the women at the cassava stall. Have you seen Uche? He would say. Each answer was a small, flat echo. Maybe, or not today, or he left early. Emeka began to walk the dusty road to the bigger bus park, pacing like a man whose feet were carrying the weight of disappointment. One evening, while the sun bled orange into the sky, an old kola nut seller named Neka stopped him. Her eyes were kind but sharp. Emeka, she said softly, there is talk near the river. People say Uche bought a new vehicle. Not the lorry you planned. A bright yellow bus. He took passengers toward the east. The words landed like cold water. Emeka's hands trembled so badly he nearly dropped his carving knife. A yellow bus? He repeated. Neka nodded slowly. He looked proud, they say. He spoke loudly about building his own transport business. Emeka felt the world tilt. That night he sat under the mango tree and remembered every promise Uche had made. The hand on the chest, the vow to return in 3 days, the way he had said, guard it with your life. Rage and sorrow blended until they were indistinguishable. He wanted to run to Uche, to scream, to demand the money back, but an older, quieter part of him whispered caution. If he stole our hope, Emeka thought, then show me he is still a man at least. He walked to the bus park before dawn and watched the buses arrive like slow giants. Among the crowd, a yellow minibus shined with fresh paint. A man waved, laughing, and the sound made Emeka ache, like a new wound opening. He touched the leather bag under his shirt, as if it could still warm him. When Emeka finally found Uche standing by the yellow bus, Uche's face was exactly the same, easy, charming, like a man who believed the world owed him favor. But his eyes avoided Emeka's. Emeka stepped forward, every word heavy as stone. Uche, he said, voice low and controlled. What is this? Uche turned slowly, then smiled as if greeting a friend. Emeka, you came early. Look at this beauty, my first vehicle. Emeka's hands curled into fists. Our money. The money we saved. The bag I gave you. Uche's smile faltered. He lowered his voice. Brother, listen. This bus is an opportunity one could not pass. Emeka laughed, but it was not happy. An opportunity? You said you would buy a lorry to carry crops. You promised to take me with you. Traders stopped to watch like they watched dramas in the market square. Uche stepped closer, lowering his voice to a whisper and touching Emeka's arm with a false tenderness. I thought it would be faster if I did this alone. You know I can handle routes better. You should be proud. You helped make this happen. Emeka's breathing hitched. Proud? You used our money to do this, Uche. You took what belongs to both of us. Uche's jaw tightened. We agreed that I would find the best option. I thought this would bring faster returns. Emeka's eyes filled. Faster returns for whom? A silence fell. Around them, people murmured, some siding with Uche, some with Emeka. Then a voice from the crowd, an old woman who had once fed them both, spoke sharply. A true man keeps his word. If you took without consent, return it. Uche's face reddened, his charm flickered. Return it, he snapped. You act as if I stole. Emeka felt betrayed in a way that made him feel too old for his years. He left then, walked away while sweat and dust mixed on his skin, because he could not let their argument become a public spectacle. But the seed of something darker had been planted between them. After that day, Onitsha's market felt different to Emeka. Even the mango tree seemed to watch him with new, indifferent patience. He returned to his shed but could not work. His hands moved, but the final strokes lacked the gentle command they once had. Customers noticed and asked if he was ill. He answered with short nods. At night, he laid the leather bag on the small wooden stool and opened it. The notes had vanished. Only a few scraps of receipt and a business card remained. He pressed the card to his forehead like a talisman. Uche's name printed bold, the phone number that never answered. Days of anger gave way to nights of thinking. Emeka remembered childhood promises. how they had shared the same mango tree, the same zobo, the same dreams. He could not reconcile the boy who had shared cassava with him and the man who now stood by a yellow bus. The elders muttered about curses and loyalty. His mother cried into her wrapper and said, "God will not forget." Yet Emeka could not live by prophecy alone. He needed action. Slowly, like a man who had learned patience from years of carving, he began to plan. He would not beg Uche for the money. He would not shout until his voice broke. Instead, he decided to build. This time not with the reckless trust that had cost him so dearly, but with quiet, stubborn resolve. He would carve, sell, and hide each naira in a place only he would know. He would find another way to a lorry, maybe smaller, maybe slower, but entirely his. The pain of betrayal hardened into a tool as sharp as his carving knife. Emeka whispered at the mango tree, "I will rise." The night answered in cicadas and distant horns, and Emeka began to plan the long, difficult road back to dignity. The next morning, Emeka woke before dawn, long before the market women lit their charcoal fires. The air was quiet, thick with the smell of dust and dew. His mother was still sleeping, her wrapper tucked beneath her arm, her breath soft. Emeka slipped outside, needing space to breathe. He walked to the riverbank behind the mechanic yard, his secret place since childhood. The water reflected a fragile crescent moon, shimmering like a broken mirror. Emeka crouched, scooped water into his palms, and washed his face. The coldness shocked him into reality. "He took everything," he whispered into the darkness. "Everything we built together." Pain pressed against his chest like a weight, but beneath it, something new stirred clarity. He remembered how Uche avoided eye contact the day he confronted him. The fake laughter, the forced smile, the lies rolled into smooth, polished words. The market had witnessed their friendship shatter. He replayed Uche's words, each syllable now feeling like poison. "You should be proud. You helped make this happen." Emeka clenched his jaw. Proud? Of being used. The river carried away his voice. Slowly, he stood, gripping his carving bag. He would not let betrayal define him. He had lost money, yes, but he still had his skill. Would never betrayed him. His knife never lied. "I will start again," he said. As he walked back home, the early morning dust rose around his feet. Behind him, the river flowed on, silent, indifferent. Ahead of him lay a road paved with uncertainty, but also strength. Emeka didn't know when or how justice would come. But he knew one thing. Uche would someday regret the day he mistook Emeka's kindness for weakness. Emeka returned to his carving stall at the market with one mission: rebuild from nothing. He laid out his tools with deliberate care, arranging them like soldiers ready for battle. His hands carved slowly, each stroke filled with emotion. Instead of the usual designs, birds, fruits, fertility symbols, he created something new. The wood held his pain, his anger, his disappointment. Curious traders gathered as his knife shaped a stool. They watched the smooth, steady motion of his hands. One man finally asked, "Emeka, what symbol is that?" Emeka didn't look up. "A crack," he answered. A wound that became strength. The man traced the carved design with reverence, then asked quietly, "How much?" Emeka expected bargaining. Instead, the man reached into his pocket without argument and paid full price, plus extra. Word spread fast. People loved the symbolism. Carved pain spoke louder than carved beauty. And still, every afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Emeka would glance toward the far end of the market where Uche loaded passengers into the yellow bus. The laughter, the shouts, the attention, Uche bathed in it. Each time their eyes met, Uche looked away. One evening, Uche swaggered past Emeka's stall, calling loudly to his passengers, "Don't worry, once my second bus comes, the whole market will know I'm the king of transport." Emeka looked up, voice calm. "Kings don't steal crowns. They earn them." Uche froze. Passengers whispered. A boy snickered. Uche forced a smile and walked on, pretending not to hear. Emeka returned to carving. His hands didn't shake anymore. His heart didn't beg for explanations. The fire inside him no longer burned from pain. It burned from purpose. Weeks passed. One afternoon, as Emeka organized his finished carvings, a small girl approached him with a folded note. She looked no older than 10, her dress faded purple. "Brother," she whispered, handing him the paper, "a man at the bus park says I should give you this." Emeka unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was familiar, sharp, bold strokes. Uche. The letter read, "Meet me at the back of the abandoned warehouse near the old rail line. Tonight. Alone. No apology. No explanation. Just instructions." That night, Emeka walked to the warehouse. The moon cast silver light on broken roof panels and scattered rusted metal. Uche stood waiting, leaning on a rusted crate, hands in pockets. His yellow bus was parked nearby. Emeka stopped several steps away. Why am I here? Uche exhaled sharply. You're angry. I get it. But you need to stop making me look bad in the market. Emeka blinked. Making you look bad? You stole our savings. Uche scoffed. I didn't steal. I used it. I made a wiser decision. You're too slow, Emeka. Too careful. I acted like a man who wants success. Emeka's voice dropped to a painful whisper. You acted like a man who wants success alone. Uche shrugged. The bus makes more money than the lorry ever would. Eventually, I'll pay you something small. Emeka stared at him, stunned. Something small? You owe me half. Uche stepped closer, eyes hard. No one will believe you anymore. The market sees me as successful now. Something inside Emeka shattered. Not hope, but the last piece of trust. He walked away without another word. Behind him, Uche called. Don't fight me, Emeka. You'll lose. Emeka didn't turn. In his silence lived a promise. One day, Uche would understand what losing truly meant. Just as Emeka's life was stabilizing, tragedy punched him without warning. His mother fell sick, sudden and severe. She grew weak, unable to stand, barely able to speak. Emeka, water, she whispered one night, her voice thin as paper. Emeka rushed to fill a cup, helping her sip. Her eyes, once bright and full of faith, dimmed with exhaustion. He called the local nurse, and she checked his mother quickly. Her blood pressure is very low, the nurse said. She needs proper hospital treatment. Emeka's heart stopped. Hospital meant money. Money he did not have because the man he trusted, the brother of his heart, had thrown away their future for personal gain. Emeka sat beside his mother's bed, tears burning behind his eyes. If I had that money, he whispered, I could save her. His mother touched his face gently. My son, don't blame yourself. He shook his head. Mama, I trusted him. I trusted him because he was like family. She smiled weakly. Trust is a gift. Some people do not know how to receive gifts. The next morning, Emeka made a decision he never imagined. He walked to Uche's bus park. Uche was laughing with passengers, bragging about business being good. Emeka pulled him aside. Uche, my mother is sick. She needs hospital care. Please give me back my share. The laughter slowly faded from Uche's face, turning into irritation. Emeka, not now. I can't just pull money out of thin air. You can, Emeka insisted. Sell one market trip. Just one. My mother is dying. Uche adjusted his collar. I'm busy. People are watching. Don't embarrass me. Emeka grabbed his arm. Please. Uche shoved him roughly. Leave me alone. I worked for this. Not you. The final string binding them snapped. Emeka walked away, shoulders heavy, heart hollow. Behind him, Uche returned to laughter, never knowing that fate had already turned against him. 2 days later, as dawn slipped between the zinc roofs of Onitsha, Emeka's world collapsed. His mother drew her last breath while he held her hand. No warning. No miracle. Just silence. Emeka screamed a sound that did not belong to the living, a sound made of pain, betrayal, and helplessness. Neighbors rushed into the small room, placing hands on his shoulders. One woman sobbed, Chai. Emeka, sorry. Sorry, my son. He knelt on the dusty ground, forehead touching the floor beside his mother's body. I tried, Mama, he cried. I tried. His heart burned with grief, so intense his vision blurred. After the burial, Emeka sat beside her grave long after everyone left. He spoke softly into the soil. I failed you, because I trusted the wrong person. The wind brushed across the graveyard, carrying dry leaves like scattered fragments of the past. When he finally rose to leave, his face was no longer that of a boy full of dreams. It was the face of a man who had nothing left to lose. From a distance, Uche watched the burial. He hid behind a tree, unable to step forward, guilt gnawing at him, though pride kept him frozen. He whispered to himself, I didn't kill her. Why should I apologize? But that night, when he tried to sleep, he heard his mother's voice in his mind. Do not betray those who trust you. Uche tossed and turned, unable to find rest. Meanwhile, Emeka packed his carving tools and closed his stall. He was leaving Onitsha, not to run, but to become something bigger than his pain. He whispered to his mother's grave, From this moment, I will rise. And I will rise so high. Uche will choke on his envy. The morning Emeka left Onitsha, The sky was heavy with gray clouds. He carried only a small bag, carving tools, 2 wrappers, a faded photo of his mother. His heart felt lighter than his load. He had cried every tear already. The bus conductor shouted, "ABA! ABA! ABA na Express!" Emeka climbed in. As the bus rolled away, he looked back only once. He saw the mango tree where he and Uche used to dream of the future. But the boy who dreamed there was gone. Hours later, Emeka arrived in ABA, a larger, busier city with louder voices and sharper competition. He found a cheap room to rent, a tiny space behind a tailor's shop. He slept on the floor and carved by candlelight. The first week, no one bought anything. Hunger gnawed at him, but he refused to give up. One afternoon, a man dressed in fine kaftans stopped at his small table. "You carved this?" the man asked, picking up a beautifully polished mortar. "Yes, sir," Emeka replied. "It is from Iraka wood." The man admired it for a long time. "Your hands hold grace," he said. "Can you carve for a large hotel?" Emeka straightened. "Yes, sir." The man handed him a card. "Come tomorrow. My name is Mr. Keene. I pay well. Very well." As the man walked away, Emeka looked up at the sky. The clouds had cleared. He felt something shift inside him, something powerful. Destiny had finally begun to answer. At the hotel office, Emeka was given a contract, 50 custom stools and carved decorative panels for the newly renovated lounge. He couldn't believe it. 50 pieces meant good money. Enough to start saving for himself again. The first payment entered his hand, crisp new notes. For the first time in months, Emeka ate a full meal without guilt. He worked day and night, carving until his hands blistered and bled. But unlike before, the pain brought purpose. He timed each piece, perfection in every line. Workers from the hotel gathered around him as he carved at the site. One woman whispered, "See how he works, like his hand is dancing with the wood." Another man replied quietly, "People like him don't remain small." Soon the hotel manager called Emeka into his office. "Guests keep asking about your work," he said. "Some want to buy. Would you like to display your art in the lobby?" Emeka blinked rapidly. "Me? In the lobby?" "Yes. There will be a small table with your name." When the display went up, Emeka stood in front of his name, Emeka Artistry, engraved on a small wooden plaque. Travelers took pictures. Some ordered carvings. Some paid in advance. Within 2 months, Emeka earned enough to open his own workshop. He rented a bigger space, hired an apprentice, and bought better tools. Still, every night he remembered Onitsha. He remembered Uche's laugh. And he made himself a silent vow. "When I return, I will not return broken. I will return transformed." Back in Onitsha, Uche's yellow bus began to break down, little things at first. A tire kept going flat. The engine coughed like an old smoker. One morning, a passenger shouted, "This bus is cursed." People laughed, but Uche felt a chill. He ignored the warning signs, pushing the bus harder. He wanted more money, faster money. He took dangerous shortcuts and overloaded passengers. One afternoon, the bus suddenly stopped in the middle of Upper Iweka Road. Smoke poured from the engine. Passengers screamed and rushed out. Mechanics shook their heads. The engine donned spoil. Overheating donned finish am. Uche's stomach twisted. Repairs cost money. Money he didn't have because he had spent recklessly on new shoes, drinks, and women who disappeared when his wallet lightened. He ran to money lenders. They gave him loans but demanded quick payment, with interest that wrapped around his neck like a rope. Night after night, Uche couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Emeka's face. The words haunted him. Kings don't steal crowns. For the first time, Uche tasted the bitterness of consequences. Emeka's new workshop thrived. Every day, people came to watch him carve. Businessmen ordered furniture. Hotels ordered decor. Even pastors asked him to carve pulpits and offering boxes. One afternoon, a tall foreign man in a crisp shirt entered the workshop. He admired a carved stool with deep cracks symbolizing healed wounds. "This design," he said in accented English, "it speaks. Pain becoming power." Emeka nodded. "That is exactly what it means." The man smiled. "I am opening a gallery in Lagos. I want 10 of these pieces by next month. I will pay you 5 times your standard price." Emeka felt dizzy. 5 times? "Yes. Your story is inside the wood. People will feel it." When the man left, Emeka sat on a stool, buried his face in his hands, and sobbed. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. His pain had become his fuel. His scars had become his brand. Months passed. Emeka's name began circulating around the East. People spoke of a young carver in ABA whose work held emotion. One trader carried a carved stool to Onitsha and placed it near the yellow buses. A conductor picked it up. "Who carved this?" he asked. The trader grinned. "His name is Emeka. They say he is becoming a big man." Uche choked on air. "Emeka?" "Yes." The trader laughed. "The quiet carver?" "My brother, that one Don Blow." Passengers whispered. Somehow, the whole bus park began to buzz with it. Uche felt heat climb up his neck. Emeka wasn't broken. He was rising. A poster changed Emeka's life again. Eastern Craft Festival. Top artists will be showcased. Emeka applied. He was accepted. At the event, his booth drew crowds. People touched the carvings gently, as if afraid to disturb the story etched into each stroke. A journalist approached. "Who taught you to carve like this?" "My mother taught me patience. Pain taught me precision." The journalist nodded, moved. Photos were taken. Articles were written. His name began appearing online. He became the carver who turns pain into art. The loan agents began visiting Uche. They were not patient. They banged on his door. "Your money. Today." Uche begged. "Give me time." They shoved him. "We will collect something if you don't pay." The next morning, Uche arrived at the bus park only to find his yellow bus gone. Towed. Seized. He ran to the lot shouting, "You can't take it. That's my life." The officer just shrugged. "Not anymore." Uche fell to his knees. For the first time, he whispered Emeka's name with regret. "Maybe I lost more than money." Emeka returned to his workshop after a long day when a sleek car pulled up. A woman in corporate attire stepped out. "Good evening, Mr. Emeka. I represent the organizers of the Lagos Elite Arts Expo. We'd like you to be one of the featured artists." Emeka nearly dropped his tools. "Me? Yes. Your story, your work, it moves people." She handed him an envelope. Inside was a formal invitation and a business-class plane ticket for his first ever flight. When she left, Emeka pressed his forehead to his work table and whispered, "Mama, are you seeing this?" Before traveling to Lagos for the expo, Emeka knew there was something he had to do. He traveled back to Onitsha. As he walked into the market, people stared. Used to seeing him small and dusty, they now saw a confident man. New clothes, quiet power in his steps, eyes that had seen storms and survived them. He approached the mango tree. Uche sat there, broke, dusty, defeated. For a long moment, they just stared. Uche swallowed. "Emeka, everything is gone." Emeka nodded slowly. "Mine too once. But I built again." Voice trembling, Uche whispered, "How did you do it?" Emeka looked at him and replied, "I stopped waiting for someone to save me." Uche's eyes filled with shame. "Emeka, I'm sorry." Emeka breathed out. "Not forgiveness. Not revenge. Just release." "You didn't break me," Emeka said. "You built the man I became." And for the first time, Uche understood the meaning of loss. The Lagos Elite Arts Expo pulsed with energy. Tall glass walls, bright spotlights, and soft classical music filled the grand hall. Artists from different countries displayed their work: metal sculptors, abstract painters, digital designers. But only one booth had a crowd that formed a long U-shaped curve around it: Emeka's booth. He stood there in a simple shirt and clean jeans, hands clasped behind his back. He did not dress like an artist trying to impress the world. He dressed like a man who had worked for everything he now owned. His carvings sat on silk stands, each one polished so smoothly the lights bounced off them like liquid gold. A woman in an elegant gown stopped in front of his centerpiece, a grand stool with a bold crack carved into the side and a golden line filling it, his signature piece. "What does this symbolize?" she asked, lightly touching the edge. Emeka smiled softly. "Brokenness that became strength." Another guest leaned forward. "And the gold?" "Pain," Emeka answered, but transformed. People gasped, murmuring. Cameras flashed. Someone whispered, "He talks like a poet who learned his language through suffering." A well-dressed man approached him, tall, bald, carrying an aura of authority. "I am Chief Oduns, owner of Oduns International Hotels. I want all your pieces." Emeka blinked. All of them, sir?" Chief Oduns smiled. "At double the listed price. And one more thing. You will design the interior carvings for my new hotel in Port Harcourt." Emeka's breath caught. "That is a huge project." "Yes," the chief replied, handing him a sleek business card. "Huge projects are given to men who rise above heartbreak." Emeka's eyes almost watered. His hard years, his pain, his sacrifice, they had found meaning. When the chief walked away, applause broke out. For a moment, Emeka closed his eyes. He heard his mother's voice in his heart. Patience, my son. Beauty always finds the one who waits. The next morning, Emeka attended a private brunch hosted for the expo's top artists. The venue overlooked the ocean, white umbrellas, tall palm trees, and tables dressed with gold cutlery. A waiter guided Emeka to the VIP section. He sat beside powerful individuals, investors, gallery owners, and wealthy art collectors. But he sat quietly, listening more than he spoke, observing the confidence of people who grew up with access to luxury. A woman wearing a diamond bracelet leaned toward him. Your carvings are unusual. They look like emotion in wood. Emeka smiled politely. They are made from truth. She laughed lightly. Truth doesn't sell. Stories sell. Emeka set down his fork. Then it is a good thing my truth is a story. Across the table, an elderly man, gray hair, gentle eyes, smiled approvingly. You speak with depth, he said. What inspired your journey into art? Emeka paused, allowing silence to carry weight. I had a friend, he finally said. We saved money together. He took everything and left me with nothing. I carved to heal the hole he left. The elderly man nodded slowly. Good. Pain is a better teacher than comfort. Comfort only protects egos. Pain builds kingdoms. Emeka felt those words sear into him. When brunch ended, a staff member approached him. Sir, someone wants to meet you privately. He followed her to a quiet lounge room where a man in a tailored navy suit stood waiting. His aura was different, polished, powerful. Mr. Emeka, the man said with a deep voice, I represent the Nigerian Tourism Arts Council. We want to sponsor your first solo exhibition. Emeka blinked hard. Solo exhibition? Yes. A full hall. Your name. Your story. All in Lagos. The man extended a hand. When a man rises from betrayal to purpose, the world will pay to watch him shine. Emeka shook his hand firmly. He had entered a room that money alone could never buy, respect. A month later, Emeka returned briefly to Onitsha to greet his aunt and pay respects at his mother's grave. After the visit, he walked through the market square. The once noisy bus park was unusually quiet. No loud engines. No shouting conductors. No yellow bus. He spotted Uche sitting on an old plastic chair beside an empty shop. Thinner, unshaven, wearing the same shirt Emeka last saw him in. His pride had shrunk into silence. His once sharp eyes now carried a hollow, distant look. Emeka, Uche whispered, voice trembling. Emeka stopped a few meters away, hands in his pockets. Uche. Uche stood slowly. My bus, it's gone. The loans, they took everything. Emeka nodded. I heard. You're a big man now, Uche said, eyes glassy. People talk about you everywhere. Emeka didn't respond. Uche swallowed hard, voice cracking. I don't want your money. I just want. He paused, unable to finish. Forgiveness. Emeka asked gently. Uche looked down. Peace. Emeka stepped closer, speaking softly, firmly. Peace comes when the heart accepts consequences. You wanted success alone. You have success's shadow to keep you company. Uche covered his face with trembling hands. I thought money would prove I mattered. I thought leaving you was smart. Emeka shook his head slowly. Betrayal is not strategy. Greed is not wisdom. Uche broke down, sobbing in public for the first time in his life. People watched quietly. They didn't mock him. They didn't console him. They simply witnessed karma. Emeka placed a hand on his shoulder, not in friendship, but in closure. You didn't break me, Uche, he whispered. You sharpened me. Emeka walked away. He did not look back. Uche remained seated, alone, with nothing but his regret. Lagos was loud in a different way. Horns, traffic, expensive perfumes drifting from passing cars. Emeka stood in front of the Civic Arts Pavilion, a massive banner hanging over the entrance. Solo exhibition, Art of Emotion by Emeka. He stared at his name printed in bold, unable to move. He didn't know when his breath left his body or when tears filled his eyes. People swarmed in, photographers flashing cameras, media banners waving. When he stepped inside, soft lighting fell on all his pieces. Each carving stood like a chapter of his soul. A hostess whispered, Please take your place at the front. You will give a speech. A speech? Emeka's hands trembled. He never gave speeches. He carved stories because he could not speak them. But as he stood on the small stage, the crowd quieted, waiting. Some held champagne, some phone cameras, some curiosity. He swallowed. I was not born with talent, he began. I was born with pain, and pain taught me to carve. Silence wrapped the room like a gentle blanket. I lost someone I loved. I was betrayed. I had nothing left except my knife and my tears. A woman in the audience wiped her eyes. My carvings carry wounds, but wounds can become wisdom. Soft applause turned into thunder. Journalists bowed their heads respectfully. A young artist whispered, "He doesn't carve wood. He carves truth." Chief O'Duns approached him afterward. "Young man, luxury hotels abroad would pay millions for stories like yours." Millions. Emeka blinked. He wasn't chasing millions. He was honoring loss. But fate had decided that his healing would become his fortune. The exhibition had almost ended when the hall doors suddenly opened, letting in a gust of cold air. People turned. A hesitant figure stepped inside, dusty shoes, faded shirt, shoulders bent under invisible weight. It was Uche. Emeka froze. Behind him, guests whispered, "Is that the betrayer? The one from the article about his origin story." Uche walked slowly, hands shaking, staring at the carvings like they were ghosts. When he reached the centerpiece, the stool filled with gold crack lines, his lips trembled. "This was our dream." Emeka didn't flinch. "No, you sold our dream." Uche swallowed hard. "I have nothing left." Emeka remained silent. "I sleep at the market now," Uche confessed. "I have eaten hunger. I have slept with regret as blanket." "Emeka, I didn't know betrayal could follow a man like Shadow." A journalist moved closer, microphone ready, but Emeka raised a hand. The hall quieted. Uche lowered himself to his knees, right there on the polished floor. "Emeka, I am sorry. I did not just steal money. I stole trust. I stole your mother's peace. I stole your years." Gasps filled the room. Emeka closed his eyes. He felt the weight of his past, the graves, the hunger, the hopelessness. When he opened them, his voice was low. "Stand up. I don't deserve. Stand." Uche rose slowly. "You were the storm," Emeka said. "But storms clear paths for seeds to grow. No anger. No revenge. Just truth." Cameras clicked. The world watched forgiveness in its purest form. After the exhibition, Emeka stepped outside into the cool night air. The city hummed, headlights reflecting on rain-patched asphalt. Uche followed him, but this time he didn't walk with swagger. He approached like someone unsure whether they had the right to breathe the same air. "Emeka," he began quietly, "will you ever see me as a brother again?" Emeka leaned against the railing overlooking the lagoon. The moon reflected on the water like cracked silver. "No," he said gently. "Some doors, once closed, must remain closed." Uche blinked rapidly. "So, what happens now?" "What happens now," Emeka said, "is closure. Not friendship. Not revenge. Just closure." Uche stared at the water, tears threatening. "I thought success meant doing things alone. But loneliness is heavier than poverty." Emeka inhaled deeply. "What you broke pushed me to become who I am. I don't hate you. I thank you." Uche wiped his eyes. "I don't deserve forgiveness." "Forgiveness," Emeka replied, "is not about deserving. It is about releasing myself from the chains of yesterday." They stood there silently. A car pulled up, a sleek black SUV. The driver opened the back door. "Sir, we need to go. The investors are waiting." Emeka nodded. But before entering the car, he turned to Uche. "This is where our paths end. Not with shouting. Not with bitterness. With truth." Uche bowed his head. "Then let me say goodbye." He walked away, disappearing into the night. Not a villain anymore, not a friend. Just a lesson. 2 years passed. Emeka's company grew into an empire. His brand, Emeka Artistry, became one of the most sought-after design names in West Africa. Hotels from Dubai, Ghana, and South Africa requested his carvings. Overnight, he went from living in a single rented room to owning a mansion with tall glass walls and a studio overlooking the ocean. One afternoon, Chief O'Duns called him. "Emeka, there is an investor from the United States. He wants to franchise your gallery abroad." Abroad. The word felt unreal. That evening, Emeka walked through his new workshop, larger than any hotel lobby he once cleaned. Workers sanded wood, machines hummed. His apprentices called him, "Sir." He smiled. This was what growth felt like, not loud but steady. As he reviewed sketches for a hotel lobby, his phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "Thank you for not destroying me when you had the power to." Emeka knew who sent it. He replied only one sentence. "I rise by grace, not by revenge." He put the phone away, because his future no longer included Uche's shadow. At an international arts conference in Dubai, Emeka stood on stage presenting his signature style, cracked wood filled with gold resin. When he finished, a tall European man approached him. "I'm Henrik Weber," the man said, extending a card. "I represent Artistry Global Investment Group. We fund creative entrepreneurs." Henrik placed a sleek folder in Emeka's hands. "We want to partner with you to build a chain of art studios across Africa." Emeka's breath quickened. "Studios? Across Africa? Yes. Your story is inspirational. The world needs to see what pain can become." Emeka took a deep breath. He remembered a tiny wooden stool in Onitsha. He remembered hunger. He remembered kneeling beside his mother's grave. He touched the folder gently. "Yes," he said. "Let's build something the world will never forget." Months later, construction began on multiple art academies bearing his name. Workers wore uniforms with the initials EAI, Emeka Artistry Institute. Newspaper headlines read, "From betrayal to global brand." But in the middle of growth, Emeka remained grounded. He returned to Onitsha, not to boast, but to build a free community center where children could learn carving. When he arrived, the mango tree still stood. He touched its bark gently. "I'm home," he whispered. A little boy ran to him. "Sir, teach me to carve." Emeka knelt. "I will teach you more than carving. I will teach you how to rise." He poured money into scholarships, into feeding widows, into repairing homes damaged by rain. Success meant nothing if his roots suffered. One day, Emeka walked past the community workshop and froze. Uche stood inside, sweeping the floor silently. One of the instructors whispered, "He comes every day. Sweeps. Cleans. Never asks for pay." Emeka walked in slowly. "Uche." Uche turned, startled. "I didn't know you were here. I just wanted to help." Emeka noticed something different. Not desperation, not arrogance, humility. Uche swallowed. "I can't undo what I did. But I can serve others so I don't waste my second chance." Emeka nodded. "Then keep sweeping." They shared a rare, quiet moment. Not friendship, but healing finally finding its place. A week later, Emeka and Uche met under the mango tree. Just like boys again, but no longer boys. Uche exhaled shakily. "There's something I want to say." Emeka listened. "I envied you," Uche confessed. "You were content with little. I was empty even when I had more. I wanted the world to clap for me, yet I lost myself." Emeka nodded gently. "You lost yourself trying to be more than enough, because you never believed you were enough." Uche's eyes filled. "Do you hate me?" "No," Emeka said. "I outgrew the version of me that needed your apology." Uche sighed. "Can we start again?" Emeka shook his head slowly. "I release you, Uche. But our story ends here." Closure, not revenge, sealed everything. Years passed. Emeka opened more academies. Art healed thousands. Young boys carved hope into wood. Journalists called him the master of turning pain into gold. During an awards ceremony in Johannesburg, he won African Creative Icon of the Decade. When he walked on stage, he didn't boast. He said only, "To anyone who has ever been betrayed, thank the one who broke you. They are the hammer. You are the gold." The hall erupted into applause. One evening, Emeka returned alone to Onitsha. He sat under the mango tree, the same place where dreams began and friendships ended. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Mama, I made it." A breeze swept across his skin, not cold, not warm, just present, just enough. He smiled. He wasn't that broken boy anymore. Before leaving the village, Emeka gathered the children from the workshop. He handed each one a small carving knife, not sharp enough to harm, but sharp enough to shape wood. He knelt. Carving is not just art. It is therapy. Every wood holds a story. Tell yours. A girl with bright, curious eyes asked, "Sir, do you still feel pain from what happened?" Emeka smiled. "I feel gratitude." Standing under the mango tree one last time, Emeka placed his hand on the bark. He whispered, "I didn't win because I had money. I won because I refused to break." The wind blew gently, lifting dust and memories. He walked away, not as the boy who was betrayed, not as the man who rose, but as the legend who turned pain into purpose. The baobab of his life, the mango tree, remained behind him, rooted in old dreams. But Emeka stepped into a future he built with his bare hands. Please subscribe and share this story.